Okay, this is Michelle Bowen, and I'm going to give you guys some tips on drawing. This is the drawing pad I use. It only cost me $5. Make sure when you buy paper that it has a good quality to it. You can touch it, and if it feels like you got coloring page paper, bad paper. It will rip. It should be smooth and feel very, almost velvety under your fingers. You should like to touch it. If you don't like touching it, then there's something wrong with the quality of the paper. And things won't go well. Okay. So, people ask how I draw eyes. I use a mechanical pencil, by the way. This one comes as a pair for about $5. Highly recommend it. The eraser's great. The pencil lead is great for drawing. A lot of animators actually use this, believe it or not. Or they did back in the day before everything became so digital. Okay, so how do we do an eye? See how I'm holding my pencil? Not everybody holds it the same way, I'm sure. When you're sketching, sketch lightly. Never do that. Never. Okay, so now that I did that, I gotta get it to a different spot. 1 second. Okay, this is a little tricky because I'm holding the camera and I'm trying to draw. Okay, so sketch lightly, like I said. Sketch out a shape. See, that's a very basic eye shape. You can work with it. It's not my very best. Let's add a little more up here. Now, I always, for the fun of it, tend to draw this in. Just because that's how you do it. I like to put one shiny on this side or one shiny on this side, but usually not both. In this case, I did it to show you how I do the shinies. Now, if I don't like the way part of my picture came out, I can just simply erase a little bit of it, because that's what sketches are good for, and then sketch in the right lining, not layering, sorry. Alright, so there's a very basic eye. And I do mean very basic because there's no eyelid, there's nothing else on it. Let's make it fancy. Oh, there's a pupil, and the iris is defined. I know a lot of anime eyes take up the whole white area, but I find it's harder to make expressions that way. Today I will be doing 2 shinies, which is abnormal because I don't always do that. But sometimes your lighting calls for that. So, I make sure... Sorry, my thing gets a little blurry. I make sure that the line of the eye is defined right here, but it's thinnest at the front. You don't want thick lines. And you don't want to overpower what you've already done. Okay, so see, I made a mistake. Woohoo! And that's what erasers are great for. Bear with me a second, this is just a little awkward. Okay. That's where I meant to go. Alright, so once you redefine the eye shape, now you get to play with the eyelashes. Some people like to keep it simple. I go with dramatic, and I start thickening right about here. And then I just kind of add to it if I feel it needs another one. In this case, I want it to be nice and thick. So I fill it in to make sure it looks right. And that's where I go from there to add the thickness. You'll notice I never go beyond a certain point on the eye. Now here's what a lot of people don't do. They do not add eyelashes at the bottom of a person's eye. Even though we all know, see these eyelashes? We all know humans have eyelashes at the bottom and top of eyes. But for some reason people think it's fun to not do it. Next thing to do is to add the eyelid. You need an eyelid. If you don't have an eyelid, you are not capable of creating expressions. I, once upon a time, years ago, thought I wouldn't draw eyelids. I have no idea why. Like I said, it was years ago. Next is the eyebrow. You don't always have to have it way up like Disney does. You could do something more like expressive, like a lower eyebrow. Feel free to fill it in. It helps feelings be measured out for the character. And look at that. But that's a little stenciled in, because I'm used to making that. So, add character to your eyebrows if you want to. They don't have to be that shape. That is how you do a front or even partially turned face eye. Side eye is a little bit different, meaning profile. I highly recommend doing something like that, although eye shapes are different and will vary. Again, my camera's gonna do what it wants, I guess. Alright, so again, I play with the pupil and the iris right away, because it helps me set the tone. Now, here, I made the corner of the eye, that one right here, more dramatic. And this part, not as dramatic. But here, the angle will be different. You want to leave this a lot less colored in. And you want to make sure that you remember that eyes have more than a single shape to them. Angles create different shapes. And sometimes I even add a little tiny thing in there. And again, I bring it down. 1, 2, or 3. You don't have to have 3. I chose to have 3 because I kept that going with her eyes. Obviously this is a female's eyes, not a male. So if anybody was mistaken, you really might want to get your facts checked, because you don't do this with men. Okay, see, and the eyelid comes down slightly differently, obviously. And then the eyebrow kind of hooks around funky because of the way the face comes in. And then kind of arches. And ends right there. See that? Pretty cool. See the difference? But it's still the same eye. Trust me, I used to try adding more detail here, it just never looks right. No. So make sure that your eyelid, even if it connects, has like an overlapping line, because that will help you create an expression that will be believable. If you just do that, it's not believable. That has more movement because the flesh on your eyelid has a lot of movement. So I think that's a pretty good lesson. Eyes. Remember, it's important to know how to make an eye. This is just one shape. There's always rounds and other kinds of shapes of eyes. So keep watching for other how-to videos by Phoenix Dream Angel or Michelle Bowen, whichever you want to call me.